Being a psychic medium must be one of the most rewarding experiences ever, right? I mean, imagine what it would be like to be able to connect with the other side, to speak with people who have passed over and crossed over into that other realm, and to receive messages from them without any type of interruption or any type of discomfort whatsoever. Well, that's not exactly how it works. So, my name is Nicole Guillaume, and I'm a psychic medium. I am also the owner of Guiding Echoes, and I have been offering professional psychic mediumship readings to thousands of people around the world for about almost a decade now. So, it's been a while. Excuse me, all of a sudden, as I start talking, got a frog in my throat. And so, one of the things that I've learned on my mediumship journey is that there are so many misconceptions about what a psychic medium does and how they receive their information. And while I cannot speak for all mediums, I did want to come here today to share with you how psychic mediumship works for me. And I also want to share with you some of the I don't know if I'd call them pitfalls exactly, but I guess rather the insecurities and whatnot that I have around mediumship, because believe it or not, mediumship still kind of scares me. Not because I'm afraid I'm going to get anything bad coming to me. I'm not afraid of spirit attachments or anything like that. I'm more afraid that when I sit down with a client, that I am not going to be able to connect with the person they want to connect to. And that does happen. I get nervous that no one's going to show up. That happens too. And more importantly, I am just so aware of how important and how precious this work is. And really, I'm kind of afraid to mess it up. And so, one of the things that I have found in working with other psychic mediums is they have those same fears, they have those same worries and concerns. And so, it is now my belief that a good medium is going to be a medium that has some hesitation there. So I'm curious to hear from you guys. Like, what questions do you have about being a psychic medium? So this could mean that you're a psychic medium yourself, or maybe you've wanted to dive into the development of being a psychic medium. So whatever questions you have and whatever comments you want to share on this, I would love to hear them. So be sure that you are putting those in the comment section. And if you are watching the replay, you can still be a part of the conversation. So still be sure that you are putting your questions and your comments. And of course, if you're watching the recording, I may not be able to answer those because, can't go back in time. I haven't mastered that ability yet, but you may see an answer to that question in an upcoming video. So Nicolette asks, how does one know that they are a psychic medium? That is a very, very good question. Oops. Well, actually, look at both of you. Nicolette and Music is Magic both asked the same question at the same time. We'll talk about synchronicity, right? So let's go ahead and dive into this. So how does one know that they are for sure a psychic medium? Well, I think that awareness is going to be different for everyone because everyone's experience is unique. But I'll start with this. You will know for sure that you are a psychic medium when you are working with spirits consistently. And by that, I mean that spirits, whether you know them or not, will start coming up to you and you can sense them, feel them, or see them. And here's one of the misconceptions that people have about mediums. They think that all of us are able to see spirits physically with our eyes and we hear them physically with our ears. But most of the time, it's actually an image in our mind. So we will see visions in our mind's eye. We hear them in our mind's eye, in our consciousness. But for me, there usually is also a presence that comes with it. So there is going to be some type of physical sensation that I feel that I can't really put into words. But for the most part, it is a very, very strong imprint with great details. that I see within my mind's eye. And so for other mediums, it could be that they are able to see these beings. They are able to see different spirits. They're able to have a connection with them. They're able to talk to them. And so it starts with that. It starts with the connection. It starts with seeing or hearing them or feeling them and knowing, or at least suspecting, that something's there. The next step would be the validation. So the validation is when a spirit comes forward, especially one that you don't know, comes forward and gives you information that you couldn't possibly know. And then when you go to look it up or you relay the message to whoever the spirit wants to connect with, the information that you could not have ever known turns out to be correct. So I find that that's how you can know that you're a psychic medium, is you know that you're talking to, well, you may not even know you're talking to spirits. If different images are popping up in your mind's eye, it's a little confusing at first because you're like, what is going on with my imagination? Like, wow, I have a wild one. But if they're coming through and they're giving you messages and they are telling you about things that are going to happen, or there's just this fluid back and forth, and again, they're relaying information that you couldn't know, and somehow you find out that information is correct, and that's happening consistently and repeatedly, that's how you know. That's how you know you're a medium. Okay, and Donna says she loves the nails. Thank you. Yeah, they're all ready for St. Patrick's Day, because I ain't getting pinched on St. Patrick's Day this month. No, thank you. And so let's go ahead, and I want to go back because I know that you guys have a lot of questions. Carmen says, you did a reading for me and it was amazing. Highly recommend you to everyone. Thank you so much for that, Carmen. I very much appreciate that. Let's see. Kelly Spark says, I have clairaudience, so I do hear lower realms as well as higher. What are ways to lessen the amount you hear coming from the lower realms? Kelly, that's a really good question. So there's a few different parts to this. And when you're talking about lower realms, I'm assuming that you're talking about the more earthbound spirits and other spirits that we won't talk about exactly. So what I would say is that if you are hearing the lower realms and that's distracting and that is a realm you don't want to work with and you don't want to connect with, what I would recommend doing is really getting into a practice that will help you to raise your energy up. And so meditating is one of the ways that you can do that. So meditation is a wonderful way to keep your vibration up, because when your vibes are up, it's really difficult to actually make a connection with those lower realms. So you want to work on getting that vibration up. And the other thing about keeping your vibration levels up is, obviously once you meditate, you know, that's a great way to get a bump in energy, right? But the truth is, after we meditate, life happens, right? We can meditate and feel great and connect with our spirit guides and be feeling really good. And then 2 hours later, we get a phone call from a friend, and it's a devastating phone call. And so what happens to our energy? It droops, right? It comes down. And so as we go through life, it may be difficult to hold that higher vibration. And so that's where positive self-talk comes into play. That's where taking proper care of your body comes into play. In fact, right now I'm fasting as I'm talking to you guys. I've been fasting for almost 18 hours. I've been staying really hydrated. And so I find that for me, fasting is an excellent method of self-care. And for me, when I fast, my energy tends to go up. My readings become better. My intuition is more heightened. And I've learned that for me, that's one of the ways that I kind of give my energy a boost and keep it up there. So just kind of tune into different ways that you can practice self-care throughout the day so that you can keep your energy as high as possible. Also, start having that connection with your guides and angels, and let your guides and angels know you don't want to hear those lower realms. That is something that I started doing with my guides and angels, because I was starting to get information and downloads that I was feeling bombarded by. And the problem was most of that information wasn't even helpful. And so when I talked to my guides and angels and they started answering in riddles and things like that, I just started telling them straight up, like, this is not helpful. Like, I need something more concrete. This isn't helpful. So when my angels or guides would tell me something and I wasn't able to make sense of it, I'm like, nope, not helpful. Nope, not helpful. Nope, not helpful. So I really had to work with them to kind of train them as to what information I was going to accept, or rather, not what information I was going to accept, but rather how the information was going to come in. And yeah, I guess when I think about it, information I was going to accept, because if they're telling me about something that's going to happen in some other state that I have no influence or power over, that's not helpful, right? And connecting with lower energies, that's not helpful. So you have to have that conversation with your guides, your angels, and even your own higher self to let them know, like, I don't want to connect with these beings anymore. Like, unless I have an actual purpose and unless I can help, unless XYZ, I don't want this anymore. So the more you make that statement and the more you set that boundary, I think you're going to find that in time, that ability to hear the lower realms, that'll go away. So that's something to consider. It's something that's really helped me. Okay, so Susan's asking, I've been told I am psychic by a psychic, but I don't know how to harness it. What is the best thing to do to develop this gift? Susan, one of the things that's interesting is I think a lot of psychics will tune into someone else who's intuitive and they'll say, you're psychic too. And what they're really saying is you're also highly intuitive. And so as far as developing that ability, it really depends on you, because it depends on what psychic means to you. And if you even want to go down that route, since you're asking about how to harness it and how to develop it, I'm assuming that you do want to develop it, obviously. But it really requires knowing what type of psychic gift you have and what psychic gifts and what type of intuitive abilities that you have and how you want to harness those. How do you decide what are my own thoughts and psychic insights? Okay, I'll get to that in a second. So I would say that you want to start with one practice that feels good to you. So that practice might be learning how to do Reiki. For a lot of people, and myself included, when you get your Reiki attunement, when you start working with other Reiki practitioners, that opens up your energy. And a lot of times it opens up all your different layers, because Reiki does work, of course, with energy, but it also starts to work with the power of your chakras. And so your chakras get lit up and your energy gets well lit. And so that's one way that you can actually develop your psychic abilities, because if you're an innate healer, then what will happen is as you are sending energy to someone else, healing energy to other people, you'll start to get information about them. Like, you'll start to get visions, you'll start to hear things as you move your hands among someone's body or their energy body. You'll start to feel heat or cold places, and you'll start to intuitively know what that means. You can also work with tarot cards. I've got a bunch of them, so you can work with tarot cards and oracle cards and see if that sparks something for you. You can read, you can take online courses. And so there's so many different ways to develop psychic abilities and mediumship abilities that it would be difficult for me to sit here and say, okay, you have to do this one thing and this one thing is going to open everything up. Because most people end up becoming very eclectic in this field. Have you guys noticed that? Everyone gets very eclectic. And so they end up not just getting involved in Reiki, but Reiki ends up being the doorway for crystals and runes and all sorts of amazing things. So just start experimenting with it. See what feels good to you, and just kind of, take it from there. So the other thing that I wanted to mention about mediumship and developing, just in case you guys are going through that, is there is imposter syndrome. And you guys might have heard me talk about this before. And on Monday, I am releasing a video, and it is a conversation with another gifted medium. His name is Tim Thomas, and he has an amazing Facebook group on Facebook in which he helps people to develop their mediumship abilities. And he had written an article that I found was fascinating. I was like, you have to come on my show. Like, my audience needs to hear this. Like, this is good stuff. And one of the things him and I talked about off camera was imposter syndrome. And so I find that a lot of great mediums go through this. And what's funny, I'm going to let you guys in on a secret. What's funny is that a lot of people who claim to be psychic mediums will walk around puffing up their chest, talking about what an amazing medium they are. They will give you all of these different examples of different hits that they got and everything. And the more you start to work with them and the more you start to actually talk to them, you learn that maybe they're exaggerating their abilities. And what I have found is that people who are overly confident in their psychic mediumship abilities, they might not actually be that good. And I know that's quite a blanket statement to make, and I know that even maybe sounds arrogant, but it's what I've discovered. And so whenever you find someone who's really prideful about their psychic mediumship abilities, they're usually exaggerating and puffing things up. But what I have found is that people who are psychic mediums and they're a little intimidated about their gift, or they just talk about it normally, like they'll talk about their experiences, sure, and they'll talk about their favorite moments, and they'll talk about what the experience is like for them, but it's just like normal conversation. They're not exactly trying to boost themselves up. Does that make sense? So what I have found is that the more humble mediums and the ones who have some type of affliction with doing this work are the ones that are usually pretty good and legit. Last week, I went through this thing where I was telling my boyfriend, I'm like, I don't even think I'm a good medium. I don't know if I should be doing this. And I decided I was going to take psychic mediumship off of my menu on my website. And so I did. And that weekend, I had more people coming to me asking for psychic mediumship readings than I have in forever. And I was really stubborn about it for 3 days. In fact, one woman tried to order a reading with me twice in a row, and I kicked back the refund to her. Like, I kicked back the money. I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't do this anymore. And then the next day, I was talking to a couple of different friends, actually. And when we started comparing notes about what mediumship is like for us and how the universe kind of knocks on our door and says, hey, guess what? This is what you're supposed to do. I went ahead and put that back on the menu. But I want you to know that it takes so much. Guys, you don't understand the bravery and courage it takes to do this work unless you're in it. Because it's not a sure thing, I guess I want to say. It's like if I sit down and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to journal and I'm going to write about XYZ. I can sit down and do that, right? No problem. I sit down and I think to myself, okay, I'm going to connect with this one person. That person may come in or may not. And so that's a really scary and volatile and vulnerable position and situation to put yourself in and to put your client through too, right? Because sometimes you'll end up with someone who wants a reading from you, and that's fantastic. And you sit down and you're not getting anything, or it feels like the connection is strained. And then the person you're doing the reading for gets uncomfortable and they wonder if there's something wrong. Is their loved one in a dark place, or is there grief blocking the communication? It's usually nothing like that. I'm not going to pretend to understand all the reasons why spirits don't connect, but sometimes it could just be that the medium's battery is drained, like that happens to me. It could be that your loved one on the other side is off doing other things, which no one really talks about, but that does happen. In fact, I've had it where I was trying to connect with a specific loved one for one of my clients, and that loved one finally came through and said, I'm really sorry. I would love to be able to sit and chat with you, but someone is crossing over right now and I have to be there right now. Like, I have to put all my energy there. And when I told my client this, she actually gasped and she's like, oh my gosh, I know who that is. And I believe it was her aunt. I want to say it was her aunt. And so even just her mom coming through to give that statement was validation that connection had been made, that her mom was still alive on the other side, but her mom was helping someone to cross over. So it was really that's one that just stuck in my head for a long time, because I was like, wow, that's actually pretty. There's no words for that. Really, knowing that, this person's mom was helping someone cross over, and she's like, I have to be here for this, so this is important. So there's a lot of different reasons as to why someone may not come through, but as the medium and knowing how important this work is, we can put a lot of pressure on ourselves. Like, we feel, guys, I've got to tell you, mediums who are legit, mediums who are real, we feel so bad when we can't bring forth the right person to you, or if we feel like we're not getting enough information for you. We feel it, man. We feel it, because we want you to walk away from that reading feeling completely blessed and blissed out, and we want you to feel good. I want you to feel good. So anyhow, let me see. Rosalind says, Nicole, you are an awesome medium. Thank you for that, Rosalind. You guys are so sweet. Ooh, Sexy Face is asking how to tell a fake medium. That's a really good question. This is where it's difficult, because I don't know that there's all right. Shopping for a medium is not the same as going to the store and shopping for oranges. You're going to go get some oranges and you pick up a bag. You're like, oh, that smells bad. That's not that's not going to be the right bag of oranges. Or you're looking at the fruit, you're inspecting it, and you can tell that some of them are maybe rotting or they're not that good. And then you have other ones that are perfectly healthy, right color, right texture, right everything. So you go with that. Excuse me, guys. I don't know what's going on with my throat today. All right. Sorry. So shopping for a medium, now you can tell if one is fake. I think you have to be intuitive yourself. I think that if you're getting ready to make an appointment with someone and then all of a sudden there's this hesitation, and you have to know, first of all, you have to know how your intuition speaks to you, because it's important for you to know the difference between fear and intuition. And a lot of times it's difficult because they feel so much the same, right? So when our intuition is saying, stop, don't do that, it can sometimes feel the same as when our egoic fear is saying, stop, don't do that. So we have to stop and ask, okay, why am I getting a red flag not to do this, right? So that's what I would start with, is if you're about to schedule a session with someone and something feels off, listen to that. Pay attention. And if you start telling yourself, well, maybe I'm just afraid because this is a large investment, I don't want to spend that much money, or I'm afraid no one's going to come through, that might be fear talking. But if instead you're hearing messages like, I just have a bad feeling about this person, or there's something about that person I don't like and I can't put my finger on it, listen to that, because there's information in that. I find that with myself, and my boyfriend Mike can verify this. There's a lot of times when someone will come into our awareness, whether it's, online and they're trying to strike up a friendship, or someone we meet in person and they're trying to get kind of close, whatever it is. I am really good at I wouldn't say reading people exactly, but I can sense opportunists and toxic personalities and liars. I can usually sense them pretty good. There's just something about their energy that I can feel in my solar plexus. And so when I get near these people, I'll be like, I don't know who this person is, but I don't want them near us. Like, I'm sure they seem nice. I'm sure they're charming. I'm sure XYZ, but something's off with them. Like, I don't like this person. Don't interact with this person. Like, just no. And And more often than not, I turn out to be right. And so I've learned to listen to that. And it's agitating even to me because I don't want to seem like I'm judgmental, right? How many of you guys can identify with what I'm saying? Because I'll bet a lot of you can. You'll meet someone for the first time, and for some reason you don't like them, or they just grate on you the wrong way. And all of a sudden you start saying to yourself, like, oh my gosh, I'm being so judgmental. I have to give this person a chance. No. If you're intuitive, you know what you're feeling. You know there's a reason that this person is rubbing you the wrong way. So pay attention to that. So I would say that that's the same thing when you're about to choose a medium. And a lot of times you're not going to know if someone is fake until you start working with them. And that's where things get really frustrating because well, here's one way to know. If you go in for a reading and the person that you're doing the reading with hits the nail on a lot of things, but however, all of that information is searchable, you could be dealing with a fake medium. And what I mean by that is, if the information they tune into is readily available on the internet, it is very possible that they either did some research before you had the reading and they just basically took notes and memorized some things, or they might actually have someone who's got like talking to them through a bud in their ear. So that's a possibility. However, if the medium is able to pull in information that they couldn't have possibly known, that wasn't made public, you're dealing with someone legit. And the other thing that can be kind of muddled is, I want to say, if the medium is not pulling anything through, the medium might just be having a bad day, or you're working with a fake medium. But if the medium is not able to pull anything through and keeps your money, that's a red flag. Because, when you go to my website, it says absolutely no refunds. I'll let you guys in on a secret. That's not entirely true. If I connect with someone, or if I have a reading and I'm unable to connect with someone and just a lot of nonsense is coming through, I will issue the refund, because nobody pays me to not be able to connect with their loved ones. And so I'm not going to keep someone's money if I'm having a bad day or that spirit's not coming through for me. So I know that's not a direct answer to the question. I just don't know if you can spot a fake medium, because the con artists are really good, and it's unfortunate because they give all of us they can give us a bad name. That's why so many legit mediums are put into the same category as frauds, because there are fraudulent mediums and they're good. They're good at being con artists. And so the rest of us who are working really hard to get legit messages and whatnot, unfortunately, that's kind of a price we pay. So that's another downfall to being a medium sometimes, is the social rejection. That's a lot of fun. But fortunately, with mediumship becoming more mainstream, that's not as much of an issue as it used to be. All right. So let me see. There's so many questions. You guys are asking so many great questions. Oh, you know what? Deborah just made an amazing comment. So let me read this. I'm going to put it up. It's big, but we're gonna do this. Hi, can you guys see me over this? All right, she says, and it is super nerve-wracking when you're doing a reading for someone and you're waiting for someone to come through. That moment you try to connect, it's probably what scares me the most, worrying if someone will come through. I never want to let someone down when they're hoping to hear from a departed loved one. So see, that is right there, Deborah. I know that you are one of the good eggs, because first of all, I feel it from you. And I love the sincerity in that comment. So yeah, that is exactly how a healthy functioning medium is going to feel about this. Like, they're going to feel a little bad, and that's what they're going to be afraid of, is letting people down. Let's see. So Savannah is saying, you gave me a reading with my dad and he wasn't coming through very well, so you rescheduled for a reading for a few months later since he had just passed a month prior. The next reading was great. So yeah, sometimes there's an adjustment with newly departed loved ones, because on the other side, they're having to go through that adjustment too, right? They're having to learn, or rather relearn, a new way to connect with us, because they've been in a body for a while, for a few years, few decades, and so they cross over and they have to relearn how to be in the spirit world and how to communicate with us. So yeah, there's a little bit of an adjustment there. So let me see. You guys have such great questions, and I'm sorry I'm not able to get to them all, but there's so many great comments here. Let's see. I'm having to scroll up quite a bit. So someone was asking about angels. So I do believe that being able to connect with angels is a form of mediumship, and I do believe that being able to connect with them and hear them, and just having that communication with them is a wonderful doorway to mediumship. So if you're someone who wants to develop mediumship and you're afraid of connecting with lower vibration energies, or you're afraid of connecting with something that's scary, start with angels. Work with angels first. Angels are such wonderful protective beings, and they absolutely want what is best for you. And they also want you to follow the path that's correct for you while you're here on Earth. So, psychic mediumship isn't for everybody. It does take a lot of courage. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of energy. It's a lot. It's worth it. It's worth it. If it's your path, it's worth it. And you will stick to it come hell or high water. You will stick to this. And like me, you might give up for a little bit. Like it was 3 days where I was like, I'm not offering this. And all of a sudden the universe starts knocking on my door saying, guess what? Yes, you are. We're not done with you yet. And it's like, okay. Because when mediumship works, and more often than not it does, it's an amazing experience, right? For both yourself and for the person you're reading for. So it is wonderful. But those times where it's not working quite right, or you feel like you're not doing enough, those are the times that really kind of mess with your self-esteem and confidence in your mediumship abilities. And so people who are just kind of fascinated by this work, like they find it interesting, they're not going to stick to it. And that is okay. If that's where you are, if you've tried mediumship and you're like, I was able to get some good hits, but this is too much for me. Like, I don't even know if I like it that much. That's absolutely okay. Because you have other gifts and other abilities, and it is 100% okay for you to pursue that, because what's easy for you and what feels good to you, and it doesn't even have to be easy, but it's like what you're passionate about, right? Because we can be passionate about things that are difficult, but if you have that passion, that means that's probably what you're here to do. So do that. But in the meantime, for those of you, like I said, are developing and you're kind of afraid of your gifts and you're intimidated by your abilities, connecting with angels is fantastic, because angels are messengers, right? That's what the word angel means. It means messenger. And so they're really good about getting their messages across. So they can talk to us through songs in our heads, through songs on the radio. Like we'll be asking a question, then a song will pop up, or a commercial or whatever. They're really good about getting messages across to us. And as a medium, what is your job? Your job is to bring forth messages from the other side. And so working with angels first can be a really good way of developing that, because they'll be giving you messages which you get to interpret. And I do believe in angel mediums. It's not something that's really talked about a lot, but just like we have guides who help us with mediumship, I believe we have angels that help us with mediumship as well. So if you are wanting to dip your toe into mediumship and you're afraid, try angels first. Get some angel cards, pick up different books on angels. You can even read whatever religious books you want, like the Bible and the Quran or whatever else that has angels in it. And if you're not really interested in religion, I totally feel you. I'm the same way. Just go to the part of the text that talk about the different angels and see what you can learn about them. It can be pretty fascinating, right? All right. So Lynn the Magnificent is asking, what do you think about alcohol while being a medium? Well, I love my wine and I love my margaritas. So for me, I don't have an issue with that. And I know that a lot of times people will say that if you're going to be a medium, if you're going to be a healer, if you're going to be whatever, you can't have alcohol because alcohol is spirits and that brings your vibration down. The reality is that I have known a handful of mediums, and they would never admit to this, so I'm not going to give names, but they know that they actually give some of the best readings when they have a little alcohol in them. Not a lot, not like they're plastered or anything like that, but they've got a nice buzz going. So why is that? Well, you have to remember that mediumship actually does work best when we can relax. And alcohol isn't going to instantly lower your vibrations. It lowers your inhibitions, right? So if you're a medium and you're afraid of your abilities and you're just like, I'm so afraid of being wrong, da 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 da, and maybe you get a slight buzz, well, that fear is going to go away a little bit, right? And if spirit is talking to you and your receptors are loud and clear, you're going to be like, hey, you know what? I'm feeling good. I'm just going to deliver this message. Let's see what happens. Like, because you're feeling good. And in that moment, you don't care if you're wrong or right. Your inhibitions are low. And in that moment, when you're the right amount of buzzed, you are who you are, right? So, no, I don't believe that alcohol lowers vibrations. I think that here's what I think. Here's what I believe. Everyone has a different relationship with alcohol, just like they have a different relationship with money. They have a different relationship with their own self-talk. We have different relationships with things and with, well, I would say with the foods and drinks that we consume, right? And so because we all have a different relationship with these things, we have to be responsible for their consumption and their use and their practice. So for someone who knows that when they drink alcohol, they might know that alcohol has an adverse reaction to them. Maybe it causes them to get sick. Maybe it causes them to get angry. Maybe these are people who hold in so much anger that when they start drinking, they're just like these monsters, like their inner demon comes out and just terrifies everybody. So if that's, of course, someone's experience with that, I'm not going to encourage them to drink. I'm going to encourage them to drink water. I'm not going to be a fan or proponent of them putting themselves in harm's ways and other people in harm's ways. And yes, if they're drinking and they have an energy that is more toxic, so they are liars or they're angry or whatever that is, they can absolutely attract more negative energies or at least be more influenced by them because that's the vibration they're already in resonance with. But if you're a good person, and so many of you are, like, I am so blessed to have the viewers and the audience that I have because you guys are so amazing. I swear I will be having a really difficult day and I will see that I have a new message on my Facebook or inbox and someone out there is like, you know what, Nicole, we've never met, but for some reason you were on my mind and I just want you to know how much your videos cheer me or whatever it is. And it'll be like, oh my gosh, I needed this. Like I needed this. And so you guys are just so absolutely sweet and you're intuitive and it's just, I'm so lucky to have you guys. So thank you for being here and know that you guys are precious to me. So that said, I know that so many of you are good people. You're good intuitive people. You're empathic and if you decide to have a glass of wine or you decide to have a few margaritas and you know that you are drinking responsibly, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. Your mediumship abilities are not going to go away because you had some wine. Your mediumship abilities are not going to go away because you got a little buzz or you even got a little drunk. And maybe you're not going to be able to hear spirit for the next 2 days while you're nursing a hangover. Maybe your head's going to be pounding, but spirit's not on the other side going, well, she had alcohol. I'm not talking to her. Nope, that's not happening. That doesn't happen. Spirit is not going to be like, well, did you see Nicole put that whole bottle of wine away herself after she had that lasagna? She said she was going to have one drink. That was not one drink. Nope, we're not talking to her again. All right, next. Let's move on to the next medium who doesn't drink. Like, that's not how it works. It's so ridiculous. Like, we're all adults here. So, Anyways, yeah, went off on a little tangent there, didn't I? But that's the truth. So like the truth is that there are mediums who smoke, there are mediums who drink, there are mediums who have large sexual appetites. There are mediums out there who are very gifted in what they do, and they have vices. So this whole idea that you're unable to connect with the other side, or you're only going to connect with low vibrating entities if you drink or if you smoke or if you whatever, it's not true. It's not true. That said, you have to be aware of what harms you, right? So I'm not encouraging people to, become alcoholics or smoke like a chimney, because that's bad for you. And of course, if your body starts wearing down, that means your energy is going to start to break somewhere, because your energy is going to try to heal your body. Then mediumship may be difficult for you. Spirits may take a step back, not because they're upset with you, but because they understand that you need to start healing your body. So it's out of respect that they may step back. So just be responsible, of course, for your own actions, and know that, like, I'm not in that camp that believes that alcohol is going to bring you down or get rid of your psychic abilities. I don't believe that for a second. Yeah, so for any of you who've ever had a reading with me, and you can verify the accuracy and whatnot, like, that goes to testify that, yeah, I drink alcohol and I can still give readings. So there you go. So Angela says, yes, I have a vice as well. Yeah, we all do. We're human. We all do. Trina says, I do smoke and it helps me to connect. It's about the dosage you put in, not to go overboard, and can handle what they put in their body. Right. Yeah. See, that's a good example. So it's just, you have to be responsible. You have to know your limits. And she says smoking helps her to connect. And I've known people who are on that same boat. So yeah, you just have to be responsible and know what works for you. Never harm yourself, obviously. So let me see. I've got time for one more question. Let me scroll through here. You guys are so patient. Thanks. So let's see. We've got a new comment. Let's see. Let's see. I believe that you have to heal first and foremost. Yeah, I agree with that. That's very true, Angela. Okay. So Renee's World. Hi, Renee. How do you know the difference between something that has already happened versus something that hasn't? Oh, that's a good question. So you're talking about like when you maybe dream of an event or you just have a feeling? I think that it's really important to, okay, so let's say, for example, you have this idea in your mind of, let's see, what's an event? We'll use a traffic jam. That came to mind because a client was just telling me about a interesting prophecy she had about a traffic jam. So we'll go with that. So let's imagine that you're seeing this really insane traffic jam. And so in your mind's eye, what you can do is just really sit with that feeling, go into that vision, hold it for a moment, breathe into it, and ask your, whatever you connect with, it's your guides, the universe, whatever, just sit with that and ask, like, is this in the past or is this in the future? And what do I need to know about this? Right. So that's one way to know, is just sit with it. And after that happens a few times, you'll know for yourself if it feels like it's something in the past or something in the future. But every once in a while, you're right, it's hazy, right? Most of the time when I get a heads up on something, it's usually something in the present. So something's going to happen really soon. It's unusual for me to get a lot of information about something that's happened in the past, unless someone's asking about it specifically. So there's that. All right, friends. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. As you were able to tell, my throat was giving out and I can feel it getting tight again. So I am going to call it a day, I guess. But I do want to thank all of you for connecting with me. Before I go, I do have an announcement. So I have been working on a new membership site, and I'm still putting it all together. But for those of you who have been asking me about mentoring and things like that, this membership site is going to be perfect for you, because what it's going to do is for $19 a month, you're going to get unlimited access to my online courses for as long as you're a member. In addition to that, we will be hosting one Q&A every month. And we will also, where we can talk about psychic things, mediumship development, all that stuff. And we will also have one workshop every month. So that workshop will, I'll probably take a poll and see what you guys want to work with every month. But it could be things like manifesting money. It could be things like enhancing your clairaudience and clairvoyance. So it's going to be, so we're going to have like all these different workshops. And of course, in the workshops, you get to join me live. And if you miss it, there will, of course, be a recording that you'll be able to view at another time. So it does come with more group mentoring and just lots of resources for you. So yeah. So for those of you who've been asking, keep your eye out for that. I'm hoping that'll be done by April. And as the day gets closer, I'll be making more announcements. So anyways, thank you guys so much for your for connecting with me. Also, I do want to say that we do see someone here who is spamming the chat right now and saying, inbox me for your spiritual reading. Well, I want you to know that this Aid Bicey is not at all affiliated with me in any way. She shouldn't be doing that. And most likely, when you guys were asking earlier how you know someone is a fake medium, there you go, because legit mediums aren't going to pull that crap. So anyways, guys, have a fantastic day. I will see you guys soon, and take care. Bye-bye.